I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm so happy that our pastor has given me this opportunity to share the word with you today. I believe that there is a word from the Lord. The Lord led me to the passage of scripture that I think you have, Psalms 139, verses 1 through 12, and I have it here, so I'm going to read from here because my eyes are not what they once were. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The light will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. This is the word given to us by God. Let's go to our Father in prayer. Holy and righteous God, Lord, we come before you now searching. We come a searching people, searching for a word, searching for a sign of life, searching for hope. God, we are a searching people, and we have gathered here today in your house under your word, under your name, to say, God, have mercy on us. God, grant us grace and forgiveness and wisdom. God, we have come searching. And like any good parent, a parent who sees their child searching, Lord, if the parent has it in their will and in their way, then it belongs to their child. And so, God, we are confident. We are confident that what we have come searching for, God, when we leave, we will have received, because you are a good Father. God, I ask that even in this moment that they not hear me or see me, but that they would hear you, and that we would leave here changed. It's in the matchless name of Jesus that I pray. Amen. And so I'm here with you on this rainy day. I'm here with you after what a week it has been in Charlotte and in the world. I'm here with you during this time to say, God is still good. I am here with you today to remind not just you, but also me that no matter what is happening in the world, God is still good. Do you hear me? I don't know if you hear me, because what I want you to understand today is that no matter what is happening in the world today, God is still good. Somebody hears me. Somebody knows who God is. Somebody is confident that the God that they serve is still on the throne, and that things won't always be like this. And that just because it looks like something doesn't mean that it is something. And God has the final say. Does anybody know that God has the final say? And so I'm here this morning to talk to you, my brothers and my sisters, to say to you that no matter what it is that you face, no matter what it is that you're dealing with, whether it's feelings or whether it's emotions or whether it's money or whether it's relationships, God is still God. And so I learned a long time ago, this is private school, Catholic school, charge it to whatever. Some kids had regular vocabulary words. When I was growing up, the words we learned that we had to know and study were omnipresent and omniscient. Those are words that I learned in elementary school because just as important as it was for my ABCs, it was important for me and my classmates to know that God was with us all the time. When we were behaving and when we were misbehaving. We needed to know that God was in the present, but he was also in the future. And we needed to know that and those seeds were planted in me long ago. And so I'm still reminding myself. And God has shown me that, sometimes we need a reminder. And so take this, my brothers, my sisters, take this as a reminder, reminding you of who and how God is. The text I read to you earlier is written by our brother David. David, if you know the Bible just a little bit, you may have heard of him. David was the overlooked son. What do you mean overlooked? The prophet came to his father's house and said, one of your sons will be king. Bring your sons out to me and I will turn over the oil, and the one that the oil pours down on will be king. And his father, not a stranger, his father brought out every single one of his sons except him. Except him. He was the overlooked one. He was the rejected one by his father. But God is good. We move on. David is anointed king. Ultimately, David, as a little child, you grew up hearing the story of how he took the stones and he defeated Goliath, and nobody thought that it was possible. Nobody thought he was capable. Nobody thought that he had the power to do it. And yet, he slayed the giants. God is good. David, the young boy who was overlooked, the one who slayed Goliath, the one who was anointed king, but had to wait. Yes, you will be king, but not today. Yes, you will be king, and these people will bow down to you, but not now. Yes, you will be the heir. Yes, you will be in charge, but today you go back to the field. But God is still good. David, who becomes king, and ultimately, because he is flesh like you, flesh like I, he lies, he steals, he manipulates. I debated how deep I would go into that because there's a lot of children here at the Grove. So you adults will have to go into the text to find out all of the details of it. But the bottom line is that David, who is king, who is head of the army, sees this woman that he wants, and he takes her. Now, depending on who's preaching and your interpretation of what take means and all of that, it means that he could be several things. But this woman who did not belong to him, he desired her and he took her, knowing that she was married to another man. And in his desiring and in his taking and in his lying and in his manipulation, she ultimately becomes with child. You ever do something and think you got away with it, and then come to find out it's going to be some fingerprints left behind that shows us that it was you? And so in good human fashion, he decides that he's going to figure out a way, and he's going to bring her husband back from the front line. And when he brings her back, he thinks, he's been gone for a minute, so he going to want to spend some time with his lady. And this was before Maury and DNA tests, so he figured that eventually this would all just come out in the wash. But her husband Uriah, being the man of God that he was, and being the soldier that he was, when he came back, he said, I can't even be with my lady while my men are out there still fighting on the front line. And so because her husband was honorable and David was a liar, he had Uriah put back on the front line and he died. Because this is how we cover up the things that we do. But I'm telling you all this because you know what? God is still good. And so Bathsheba, who becomes pregnant, ultimately has the baby that she had with King David after he took her when she didn't belong to him. And then the baby dies. Can you imagine? After all of that, the baby died. I'm in the Bible, I promise you. You got to read it. It's good. It's good. And now David is grieving the loss of this baby that he made in his foolishness. And God is still good. And so I know you're saying, Nicole, what does this have to do with me? I am holy and here on Sunday. Praise God. Hallelujah. God bless you. God bless you. I'm here today to show you that no matter what it is that you're doing, that no matter how good you think you are, no matter how sneaky you think you are, no matter how much you think you've covered your tracks, our brother David, the author of this psalm, he lets us know that no matter where you go, God is there. No matter what you do, God is there. And he says, God, how can I escape you? You ever want to escape somebody? I mean, even nice people, sometimes you just want to break, Okay, it's just me. That's fine. Sometimes I just want to get away from people. And it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes I just need a break. And David is saying that, hey, there are no breaks with God. God is there with you while you're having your holy brunch with your family. And God is also with you when you're waking up wondering, where am I waking up at? And I know we don't like to think about that. We don't like to believe that God goes into those places. But I need you to understand that is the omnipresence of God. And if you believe in God, then there's no escape. If you believe in God, then there's no walking away. That means he's with you in the hallway when you're supposed to be in class. That's for somebody. He's with you in the hallway when you're supposed to be in class. And he's with you while you're smoking in the parking lot and think that nobody sees you. And he's with you on the stage when you're getting your awards for your 4.0 and your 3.5. But he's also with you while you're sitting in the car way down the street and you think you're not under the lamp so nobody can see you. But I'm telling you that God sees you. Amen. And for some of us who were raised with that kind of God fear, that means something to us. But for those of us that weren't raised that way, I want you to understand that it's not about a gotcha spirit. It's not about a finger pointing spirit. It's not about I see you and you're doing wrong spirit. What we need to get from this text from our brother David this morning is that God's love is ever encompassing. And that no matter what it is that you've done, he still shows up for you. And if God shows up for you, then that means that when you're in the places you have no business being, he still has the power to deliver you. I don't know if you've ever been somewhere and needed God to get you out. And maybe in a moment you wish he wasn't there. But if you get in enough trouble, you'll find yourself going, God, help me. And you'll be glad that God sees you where you are. You'll be glad that God knows exactly where you are. And so I'm telling you this story this morning because each and every one of us has a different story. I'll be honest with you, yesterday it was raining and I was like, okay, Lord, you know, April showers. Oh, okay, I just want to make sure you're still there. Okay, so we okay with the rain yesterday. Yesterday you stormed yesterday. But then I got up today and it was still raining. And I was like, come on, God. Because, you know, we'll take some bad things. We'll take some things and we'll go, okay. But then at a certain point, we feel like things is going on a little bit too long. Not that we've done anything that we deserve a reprieve, but just that it's been going on too long. God, you took the Saturday. Okay, all right, you canceled the little strawberry festival in Rock Hill. I had plans, but I guess it's over. And now it was still storming about 9 o'clock. I said, Lord, ain't nobody coming to church. But see, he heard me. You see, y'all still can't. He heard me. Because look, y'all filled it out. Because it stopped raining, okay? I just want you to understand that God is in everything. He's in everything. And we as believers have to find joy in that. We have to find joy in the fact that he stands with us at the graveside of our loved ones. As heartbreaking and as horrible as that is, we have to find joy in knowing that he's there, that he has not left us. He has not left us to be with our own devices. He hasn't left us to create our own narratives in our minds because we know that God is our comforter. And the same God who stood with you at the altar when you looked into the eyes of that person that you love so much and thought that you would be with them forever, if there ever is a time and you're not in that lovey-dovey space again, isn't it good to know that God is still with you? He hasn't left you, even if you have to leave that person. That's something to shout about right there. And for those people who push through those difficult challenges and those people who say, no matter what, God, I need you to be here. God, I need you to fix him. I need you to fix me. God, I need you. You cry out to God, and guess what? He hears you. God is that God. I won't even say he's that kind of God. He is that God. He is the God who shows up, and he shows up because he never left. God is the God who shows up, and he shows up because he never left. We as believers have to believe that God is omnipresent. We have to believe that he's everywhere at the same time. And you know why? Because this flesh has limits. Because our kids are not with us all the time. And our parents are not with us all the time. And we have to believe that, God, you're here with me, but you're also with them. We have to believe that they're on these college campuses and they're at these high schools. And we have to believe that God is there with them in those parking lots. And we got to believe that God is there with them at those football games. We have to believe that God is everywhere at the same time. We have to believe that he's in the nursery when they're little and they can't tell us every single thing that's happening. We have to trust God. We have to believe that the God that we serve cares so much about us, that he is everywhere. I came to you this morning to remind you that wherever you are, wherever you're walking on this earth, God is there with you. If you are in the bank and they are rejecting your loan, guess what? God is there. If you are turning in job application after job application after job application, I promise you, God is there. I need you to understand today on this first Sunday of May in 2024 that time is going by and we need not waste any more doubting. We need not waste any more wondering. We need not waste any more time questioning if we're worthy of God to pay attention to us. Don't waste another moment. Hear me when I say that you are loved by God. Hear me when I say that God cares about you. Hear me when I say that wherever you are, He is there. Hear me when I say, don't let the enemy get into your mind and have you wondering and have you thinking, well, since I'm doing this, God is not here. And since I'm over here, God doesn't care. And since I'm smoking this, God is not with me. I'm here to tell you that He's there anyway. So you might as well recognize. I don't know who this is for today, but I want you to hear the words of your sister. I spent a lot of time running away from God because I did not think I was worthy. I did not think I was making good enough choices for God. I did not think that I lived a life that God would see as valuable. And I want you to know that I wasted a lot of time. Now, the holy people will say that God will restore the years, and y'all know the scripture, so shout out to y'all. But what I want people to understand in this moment is that you can waste some time. And God will work it out in the end because He's doing it for me. But I want you to know that it was a choice. Do you hear what I'm saying? It was a choice. It was because I chose to not believe that He could use me. I chose to not believe that I was valuable. I chose to not believe that the life that I was living was something that God could work with. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so what I am here to set you free from are the rules that you have put on yourself. What I am here to set you free from are the rules that maybe the church put on you that you didn't put on yourself. What I am here to tell you today is that you, in your current, present, pew-sitting state, are good enough and valuable and loved, and God is with you where you are. And what I want you to know, more than anything, is that each and every one of us is struggling with that same thing. Amen. The enemy would have you think that you are isolated. He would have you think that you are in it by yourself. He would have you think that you are the only one that has the question, that has the doubt. But I am here to shame the enemy today and tell you that your true brothers and sisters in Christ recognize that you are loved by God. And that He cares for you, and that He desires the best for you as a good parent would desire for their child. And He loved us so much. He desires for us so much that He sent His Son to die. He sent His Son to die. And we're going to have communion in a couple of minutes, and it's going to commemorate the shedding of the blood of Jesus, and Jesus who was the gift that was sent to earth to die. But I want you to take a moment and not think about the death, but I want you to think about Jesus's life. I want you to think about how He lived His life. I want you to think about the example that He gave to each and every one of us of how we should love one another, how we should treat one another when we encounter one another, how we should see the good in one another when we are with one another, how we sit and sup with one another. Jesus lived as an example of how we are to treat not just believers, but all people. And after He gave us this example for His 33 years, then He gave us His life. And so I want you to walk away, if nothing else, knowing that you are loved, knowing that you are valuable, and knowing that the God who sees all sees